Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Pass the Tots. I am your host, Mike Craig from Nutrislice. Super thrilled today. We have Warren DeShields, Director of Foodservice at Bridgeton Public Schools. Warren, what a pleasure. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Mike, what a pleasure for me, man. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while. We finally got a chance to get together impromptu, just like, hey, let's do it right now.
Let's make this happen. Well, you're a busy guy. I mean,
Yes.
You're traveling all over the country right now, evangelizing the virtues of school nutrition. I know you're preparing for some big conferences coming up this summer. Thank you for the time. My first question out of the gate, nickname Chef D. Help me understand. You're a chef.
Yeah. So, yep. I'm a classically trained chef, French cuisine, although Italian is my favorite. Back in 1993, I graduated from the Academy of Culinary Arts and always wanted to be a chef. Watch my mom cook, and as so many families do, you gather around food, and she's just making people happy. And I'm a young 5-year-old boy looking. I'm like, man, this food is good, and everybody's happy. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. And she was the first person to put me up to the stove and teach me how to cook. And from there, the journey's just been, wonderful. The passion and love I have for food, really comes from
That's
her.
awesome. And now I need to meet your mom. So just
Yeah.
it started just lots of great experiences at home, like probably some of your best experiences and memories just around a table, eating good food, having a good time, and that's what kind of, sent you into a career as a chef.
Yep. Just really, from the barbecues to, spaghetti dinners. One of her, and probably that's why Italian is my favorite. She used to make this lasagna with this homemade bread that she braided in, and she, slathered it with butter on top, put it back in the oven, let it bake a little bit more, bring it back out, put some more butter on it. And I mean, we would fight over that bread. When mom was making that bread, it was like, boy, and you could just like right now, I could smell the yeast, in it. And, you get a big chunk of lasagna, and dude, I'm happy to call her.
You're like, Mom, let's do dinner this weekend. And Warren, everybody who knows you probably would jump at the chance to just have a meal, share a chat, talk. You're so easygoing and friendly, supportive of everything that's going on. That makes me, I'm like, I need to go. I need to love to be a fly on the wall at those dinner tables. Because look, another thing, like, you guys are big, athletic young men. So I'm guessing this family, like, if there was fighting over the bread, like, you had to really bring it if you wanted some.
There was 5 of us growing up. I'm the second oldest, and we got down. We got down. I mean, I would wake up the next day, and if there was any left over, I got it.
You learned to wake up early.
Yeah. I remember waking up the next day, man, and eating fried spaghetti sandwiches.
Ooh.
Yeah. Just put it right in the frying pan. They heat it up. They get a little crispy on it. Throw it on some bread. A little bit more tomato sauce.
Man, the OG fusion food. You go from spaghetti dinner the night before to like you could do so much with spaghetti. I love it. I've heard of spaghetti tacos, but you guys got the spaghetti sandwich, the fried spaghetti sandwich. That's good. Well, so coming out of culinary school, how do you navigate your way to school nutrition? And I think this is incredible. So please enlighten us, share us. How do you go from classically trained chef to, committing your career, your life to feeding as many kids as possible?
So, man, I did hotels, restaurants, catering halls. The life of a chef is 70 to 80 hours a week. And the last job I had, I was at a hotel, and I was the sous chef for the restaurant and the banquet chef. So I would start 6 o'clock in the morning. And when the executive chef left the restaurant, I had to stay and clean up because, you got to pay your dues. So it was 11:30. So I had spent probably about a good 30 days working straight, all the hours. When I say all the hours, I mean all the waking hours. And the hotel used to give me a hotel key, and they say, look, we need you back here at 6. We got a lot of banquets, Here's your room key. Put your clothes outside. We'll have housekeeping wash them. I'd wake up the next morning, my clothes would be there, and I'd start all over. So, really, just burned out doing that. And a good friend of mine, Marianne Bodine, she was the I guess she was the yeah, she was the manager, and she was changing over the school food service in Bridgeton. And she called me and she said, "Listen, I want you to be the manager of my high school. I'm getting a lot of commodity food in, and I want a chef to come in and do some recipes." And I said, "Nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that." So about a week later, she called me and she woke me up. It was, I was home at the time, and I was, just getting off a long shift, and I had got a day off. And I said, "You know what? I'm gonna go in and interview." And that was back in 2000. And when I tell people that story, I took the job, kicking and screaming. I wanted to change, but I didn't want to change because it was less money, and not really knowing what I was getting into, other than taking this challenge on of, what are you gonna do with these brown box recipes? And I went in, and it's been 23 years, Mike. And in 23 years, I have not worked a day. It's from day one, it has been a joy and something different every single day.
Oh, what a great story. So you kind of recruited, weren't necessarily
Yeah.
looking for it, maybe didn't understand all the virtues of school nutrition, but you did it on a whim. So you started building chefs at the high school at the, or what was it, a specific school that she brought you in, or you were doing for the whole program, the whole district?
No, so I was just a high school. I was the manager of the high
Yeah.
school, and I was the only chef. I brought we hired another cook as soon as I was hired, and she came in to work. But no, I was just a chef. They called me Chef D because I was a chef. I wanted to change. I wanted to change. The menus and things like that. And I thought having that image of being a chef in a school would help do it. So like the first 6 months, I didn't do anything. I didn't change the recipe. I didn't. Because I wanted to figure it out.
Yeah.
I had no clue what regs
Regulations.
were. But I walked around with my chef coat on and my funny, jalapeno baggy pants, and the kids would tease me and all that. And I'm like, "Yo, is the food good?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's really good." I didn't change the recipe. It was just that
Yeah.
perception of, you got a chef in the house, and the kids started eating more, and participation went up. And I'm like, the power of perception, of what we're doing in this business. That's when I found out it was great. So
That's awesome.
I'm here.
First six
Yeah.
first 6 months, you didn't change a recipe.
No, not at all.
All right, so
Not because
so look, like, help me walk through this mental exercise. You classically trained chef working in restaurants, catering, hotels, just banquets, everything. Where premier food, and then all of a sudden you've got regulations to follow. You've got a cost per meal that you need to hit. What was that like, and how did you? I mean, how did you evolve into school nutrition that way?
so we just looked at it, just trying to be creative. I remember opening up the freezer, and we had diced chicken in the brown boxes, and I'm like, what can I do with it? So, we got a high population of Latinos in the district, so we did white bean chicken chili,
Yeah.
with jalapeno cornbread to go with it, and I start throwing that on. Then, all right, so let's do a chicken cheesesteak with, pepper jack cheese, and things like that. So just really looking at it, because Marianne was strong on, trying to save money and using commodity products.
Mhm.
So everything that I was doing, I didn't have to worry about the dollars and cents of it, because we were using
You have that
commodity.
foundation. Yeah.
I had that foundation. So I just started, just trying to find creative ways of using that commodity. And to this day, our center of the plate is still based around
Okay.
commodities or local
Awesome.
products. So we try to blend, the two together.
What is the role? I mean, you've mentioned the word creativity. What is the role of creativity in school nutrition, as you see it?
I think it plays a big part, because if you're not creative, then you're not going to survive in school nutrition. With so many regulations, with so many rules that we have to follow, if you can't look at those rules and be creative within those bounds, then you're not going to
Hmm.
survive. You have to find a way to still put out a product that your students are going to eat, and attract them in. You know, within those realms of the regulations that we have to follow. So if you can't be creative, if you're just looking to, open a box and put it out, then your kids aren't going to eat.
Is it that kind of challenge, the creativity of dealing with the regulations and everything, but and then figuring out, okay, with these parameters I still need to put something on the plate that has these kids excited and hungry and wanting to come eat with me each day. Is that why you feel like you've never worked a day?
Yeah, yeah, really. I mean, because you look at that box and you look at what can you do with it and how you can do it. And we went in Bridgeton from Googling carbs and nutritional stuff for our kids to now we have two registered
Yeah,
dietitians. I have a farm to school coordinator. I have an assistant director, a menu planner, menu designer. You know, just looking at the different ways that you have to branch your program out to make your food more creative and acceptable and appealing to the students is really why I have not worked in 23 years, because you just look at how can I make it better? How can I expand it? How can I look at, that same diced chicken and make it more attractive to the
yeah.
students, every single day.
All right, I'm just gonna say it. I'm looking at Bridgeton on a map right now, and you've used the word farm to school. Where in the world
Hmm.
are the farms in Bridgeton?
Not a one.
All right.
Not a
So
one.
so what's
Yep,
the
not a
inspiration
one.
behind this, and how did this come to be?
Crazy. Bridgeton is a small town, 25,000 residents, 6.2 square miles of rural city, but around it, surrounded by it, is all farmland.
Okay.
And we take as much as we can from around those farms, and we really just started having the opportunity to get that stuff. When I first started in farmer school back in 2012, 2013, I couldn't get any product. They ship it all out, to the broadline vendors and things like that. And it wasn't until I started working with a company called the Common Market. They're a nutrition hub out of Philadelphia. We get six different veggies that are grown right outside Bridgeton, processed in Bridgeton at a company called Seabrook Brothers and
Uh-huh.
Farm, sent to them in Philadelphia, and then shipped right back to me in Bridgeton. Yep, collard greens, carrots, corn, string beans,
That's
peas.
awesome.
Yep, we get it
What
all.
kind of recipes you build out for the students with those foods?
Listen, the number one recipe we have is Monique's Mean Greens. We get collard greens. Oh yeah, Monique was the cook I was talking about that we hired in
Okay.
2000. It was maybe a month or two after I got hired, and I had made the collard greens, and she said, "You need to let me make them next time." And I'm like, "All right, cool." We went from 2 cans of collard greens to 4 cases of collard greens that we were making because she made them so good.
Monique's Mean
But yeah,
Greens.
Monique's Mean Greens. Yep.
That's awesome. How many? And it's a recipe that survived 20 plus years.
And it was only at the high school, and now it's served to all 6,000 kids. Our kids in the elementary
They
schools
know
love
about
it.
it. They're like, my brother, my
They
sister
know
told me
about it.
about this. When's it on the menu?
Yep, yep.
Uh,
They know about
How
it.
in the world do you get kids to like Mean Greens? I mean, this
Listen,
is awesome.
it,
Like
it,
you've got the farm to school program, and
mhm.
vegetables now are like a popular item. Like, what are you doing over there?
Listen, it's marketing and just really trying to show kids that when you eat healthy, when you eat good, it's good
Yeah.
for you, And I think it's all about relationships. I know you're a foodie, so when you give me a list of places to go to try, I'm going to try it because that's what Mike said. You know what I mean? When kids trust
Yeah.
you, when you have that relationship and they know who you are and they know what you're about, then they're more apt to try and listen to what you're
And
saying.
Warren, I get the sense that you spend time with those kids. Like you care about them. You're there. Like on a typical week, how much interaction do you have with the students?
My interaction with the students, unfortunately, has dropped some, but we do. Yeah,
Well,
it
you
really,
travel around the
because my
world now.
role,
You're like you gotta go coach
traveling a
everybody
lot.
up.
Yeah, yeah. But my role now is to put more of my staff
Oh,
in
good,
contact with the
good.
students, and make sure that there is that relationship by building the programs, for them, the taste test, the student ambassador program, the garden visits, the greenhouse visits, all those things that, when the students come in and, have an opportunity to rub elbows with, your cafeteria workers and my farm to school coordinator. I go in and pop in and spend time with them, and they know, oh, that's Chef D. I heard about him. But before, when I was the
Yeah, yeah.
manager, I would sit at the table with them every day.
Every day.
And now, yeah, and in 23 years now, some of those students, they have brothers and sisters or uncles and aunts say, oh, you got to try Chef D's food, or tell Chef D I said hi. So it's been 23 years, and just trying to spend that time in the beginning, and now still marketing what we do. Those students know who you are, and they know what you're about because of that time that you spend.
That's special. I've always theorized that kids go to school, in a public school system like mine when I grew up, early in the morning, 7:30. I don't know what time school starts, but it starts early, and you got structure, you got school, and that lunch hour, that break, is like the one time during the day where you can kind of let your guard down and just be with your friends, eat some food for however much time you have. But it's like the one time of the day that I consistently looked forward to, knew that, like, all right, here's my chance to just like be me and be with my friends and have a good time. And it sounds like you really capitalize on that. So you would be out there when you were the manager at the high school, talking to the kids, getting to know them. You'd probably ask them questions about, like, hey, what do you like? What do you think about this? You were like optimizing, the menu directly from feedback. I'm guessing like there was just a lot of interaction.
Yep. So you go out and you sit and you talk to them, because if you don't know what they like, if you don't know what they want, like I said, we're a heavy Latino population. Do they want Mexican food every day? No, they didn't. They wanted cheesesteaks. At our high school, we were serving over 400. We had 1,000 kids at the time when I was the manager. Yeah. We were serving over 400 cheesesteaks every day from our grab and go. I mean, that's not 400 tacos. That's cheesesteaks. So they wanted American food, But I was also lucky. I was the head coach for track and field for about 15 years, and also was an assistant football coach. So I was spending, time with, those boys and girls who were in track and football. Yeah. And, they tell me, hey, listen, man, you missed the day. Them pork chops was horrible, or whatever. So, but that kind of feedback, if you're riding to a game and you're on the bus, they come up and they say, hey, this was good or this were bad. So, there were other opportunities to find out, what the kids wanted. And the funny part, that's how we started our dinner program. One of the kids, he came up to me right before football practice, and I'm eating the peanut butter and jelly. He says, hey, coach, man, let me get a bite. I said, man, you ain't getting none of my sandwich. I said, you better go get your own. He's like, well, I ate lunch at 10 o'clock. I'm hungry. And I'm like, hey, you know what? That's right. They eat lunch at 10 o'clock. We're going to be out here till 6:30. I'm like, they are hungry. Yeah. And we started a dinner program. Huh. All of our athletes were getting, well, they still do now, but as soon as school lets out, they get a chance to have dinner, or what we call super snack, before practice. And it's been wildly successful for us.
So look, first, I want to continue this, but I could just see you like, come on, guys, pick it up in practice. What's going on today? And they just be like, coach, you missed it with the pork chops today. So I got nothing to draw from. You're like, they got me.
Yeah, I got nothing for you.
I got nothing. The pork chops were missed.
I will say I do miss those times and those conversations, because it was good, really enlightening. Kids are brutally honest.
Yeah, they'll let you know. So I just want to highlight this idea. I mean, you've told the story around it, but spending time with your customers, and you call them customers, but man, you probably thought of them as much more than customers. These were your kids, and you were taking care for them. You wanted to see them succeed in school and have something good to eat during the day, and then at practice you wanted them to excel, and you were really invested in your customer and their well-being and their commitment, spending time with them. I think there's probably a direct correlation to the amount of time you spend with your customers, to the amount of insight that you can extract and improve the way that you operate a food program. and
Mm-hmm.
you're just laying it out there. Like this story is awesome around a supper program comes from you being with kids, when very well you could be going back home, spending some time on you and, doing other
Mm-hmm.
things, but you were still with them, volunteering, coaching, and all that. And I just got to ask, like, the supper program starts. How did that change practice and team performance?
Listen, we we had really successful football and track programs, and we went from not having anything, for the students to starting a supper program to realizing that their nutrition was key to our success in practice and during games. So we'd had a pregame meal where we'd load them up with good food, so that way they had some nutrition. And when we played, we had a pregame meal, but we had pizza. And I mean, pizza's good, but it's not the most nutritional thing you can have before a football game. A lot of guys, they would they wind up with upset stomachs and things like that before a game. But we started researching and having the two registered dietitians on staff. What can the students eat before and during the game, so we could have success. And our track teams won championships. Our football teams, we didn't win any championships while I was there, but we made playoffs, every single year.
Yeah.
But really just listening to the kids and listen. We had one kid, Rashawn. He was a D1 recruit when we were there, and man, we'd feed this dude hot dogs, in the middle of the game because that's what he wanted, and they were all beef hot dogs, but he wanted hot dogs because he needed fuel. My stomach is growling, so at halftime we'd have a couple hot dogs there for him, and he go back out and destroy quarterback. But just listening to him, we just listen to the kids.
That's phenomenal. And I'm guessing this builds into this theory of why you've never worked a day since you started in school nutrition, just the purpose and what you're trying to
Yes.
do. And you're telling
Hmm.
it in a great way. But I'm guessing if I was to ask about, you know, participation, the financial metrics, like the good follows this type of focus.
Yep. We're a CEP district. We had a high free and reduced rate before we went to the community eligibility provision. We were 93%. We did that in 2016. And my big thing, I'm a graduate from Bridgeton High School. So it's like going back home for me. So creating that experience for me has been easy because I looked at it as I sat in that chair back in, the 90s, and what would I want to eat when I was there? What kind of experience, would I want to have, when I was there? And people get this stigma that it's free food, they're going to eat anyway, and you're going to make a ton of money because you're CEP. But my thing was, we need to make sure that these kids are getting great food, having a great experience, making sure that it's healthy for them, looking at allergies, everything possible to make sure that the whole student is taken care of, and we're not just throwing food at them for the sake of, well, they got to take it, it's free, whatever. We wanted to make sure that everything that that student got was something that they could be proud to say, hey, guess what I had for lunch
Yeah,
today, when they go home.
yeah. And look, so to all our listeners listening to this episode, you're probably at this point thinking like, this is incredible. We need more Warrens. How do I get in touch with him? Uh, Obviously, Warren, you've been a success at Bridgeton. Your influence is phenomenal there. It just makes sense that your influence starts to expand to a state, regional, and a national level. Walk us through your journey there. How have yeah, walk us through that.
Listen, I credit SNA for all the success that we've had in Bridgeton. The fire was in my belly, to make things successful and branch it out and go there, go that way. But when I started at the state level, I met Sal Valenza through SNA, and Sal
Sal.
was, yeah, I know you know Sal. Everybody knows
Everybody
Sal.
knows Sal.
Everybody knows Sal, but Sal was a great mentor in our farm to school journey, and he's up in West New York, New Jersey, and it's like everything Sal's doing, is great. It's fun. It's exciting, and I said I want to bring it to Bridgeton, and from the state level, just meeting people, um, Reggie Ross,
Yeah.
Vanessa Hayes,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. Just meeting some good folks and just sitting and talking and realizing that, when you sit down and you meet with other, food school professionals, that they're so willing to network and give you information about what they're doing in their programs. And the great part about it is, nobody's going to leave Western New York, New Jersey and come to Bridgeton because, your food is better. It's not like McDonald's and Wendy's. It's not a competition. It's, we're sharing because we're only making that profession, that much stronger and that much better. And that's why I really enjoy serving on the national board. I think this is my fifth year serving on
Yeah.
national, and it'll come to a close next year, but I'll miss it. But I think the biggest thing about it is, like we said, promoting everything school nutrition, but really the networking opportunities. And I love traveling all over the states and seeing, what different people are doing. Mike Gasper up in Wisconsin, who runs a great program, in farm to school as well. And you wouldn't think, the things that he's doing up in Wisconsin would be going on in Wisconsin. But you go to different pockets of the country and you see all kind of things, and it's like, wow, people really love and have a passion to feed our students. And that's why sometimes it's so daunting when you hear, well, school food is horrible, and the regulations are structured to keep you in line and things like that. And there's so many professionals out there who love school food that it really shouldn't be that way. Arlethea and Camden, I can go on and name names, all day
Good
long.
shout outs. What is the state of school nutrition today? And maybe just talk from this broad, if you want, regulations, kind of the state of the industry. Where is it at,
Hmm.
and some of the challenges, some of the opportunities as you see it?
So I think on a national level, I think it's always going to be a challenge to make food acceptable and accessible to our students. Universal feeding is a huge topic going on right
Yeah.
now. I know here in New Jersey, there's legislation out there to make it free. There are several other states where it's already universally free. A lot of states are getting rid of the reduced classification, in the state, so that way there's no more reduced lunch. They're getting rid of that.
Okay.
Um, Really just trying to make sure that the supply chains are flowing, after the pandemic, and trying to see how we can keep companies interested in the K-12 industry, because with the regulations and with the supply chain issues that we're having, a lot of companies are just saying, what, it's really not worth it, and trying to focus their efforts in other areas. um, we like to think that schools aren't going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. You got to have school, and you got to have food. So please stay with us. Trust and believe that SNA is really doing our best to make things you know is easy and is accessible as possible for the industry to stay in. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are just some of the things that we're focusing on, and really just again, trying to make our members as professional as possible with professional development, and just speaking on topics that are is going to make the experience for our students that much better in the cafeteria.
The School Nutrition Association, I think, is one of the largest food associations out there. And the development's like top notch. You can get trained up and become expert, and have a really good trajectory. I mean, you started out as classically trained chef, and now you're really,
Hmm.
you're crushing it across the country, teaching everyone how to run a solid program, and just hearing some of the stories that you do. That probably did happen. Your personality and your focus, your vision, and who you are. But also, I mean, you probably had great mentors, great training, and it really helped you kind of take steps to get to where you are today.
Like I said, my professional development where I'm at today would not be possible if it were not for the School Nutrition Association. Marianne retired in 2015,
Uh huh.
2016, and I really thought when uh, I was hired, and replaced her in as the food service director, that I was ready, to be a food service director. And I had been involved, at the state level, through New Jersey School Nutrition Association. But just seeing what I didn't know once I got involved with SNA made me see that I really needed to stay involved to be, developed completely as a director, to make sure that we stayed in business, because it's a business. It's not, this rinky dink operation where you're just doing, putting hamburgers and chicken patties and things like that out.
Yeah.
Our budget was 4.5 million in 2016, when I took over. It's 8.5 million now. Yeah, 77 employees, 10 schools, and like I said, participation is through the roof. We participate in every program that the New Jersey State Department of Ag offers, except the special milk program, and that's because we can't. But yeah, we give our kids every opportunity, from 7:15 in the morning to 6:30 at night, to eat with us,
That's fantastic.
and I attribute it to, being a member of the School Nutrition Association, just because you can't get that in
No.
college. I can't get that. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Well, special shout out to the SNA. They do a great job, and 60. How many members? What's membership as it? It's like 60 plus
We
thousand.
nah, we dropped after the pandemic. We're about 48,
48, 49.
49,000 now.
We got to bump it back up.
Yep.
Well, it kind of leads to the question. Like you mentioned, universal feeding, supply chain. What does labor look like? I mean, everyone's feeling it. I'm sure you are too.
Hmm.
What does that look like? What are the secrets to hiring?
Really, it's tough because, you're looking at your competitors, where it used to be, maybe a small town restaurant or something like that, where now you're competing against McDonald's, the Walmarts. Everybody's raising up the minimum wage for, labor, in the city here. And I'm trying to approach it as, listen, this is a career. Most of the people who work with us have been with us for at least, 3 to 5 years at this point. And when you look at, that group, we look at, okay, this is going to be a career, step for you. How can we develop you and keep you here, in our district? So to me, it's a mindset. We're trying to have a whole change on the way we look at it. Before, it was just, well, this is a great job for a single mom or a married, wife who wants to be home when her kids are home. And it's not that way anymore, because, we're working till, 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. So it's not something that, you're home by 1, 2 o'clock, where it used to be that way. We're doing dinner programs, and we have after school functions where, we need employees to be there. So
Yeah,
it is a career change for them.
absolutely. That's phenomenal. Well, Warren, what's next? What mountains are you looking to climb next in the next year or two?
You know what? Once I'm done with SNA, I'm really looking forward to spending more time in my district. You've been, I've been out, learning and seeing, what other districts are doing, and bringing that stuff back, and, developing my team that's directly under me to implement some of that stuff, and, evaluating and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And I'm really looking forward to just, sitting back and spending time in the district, and doing what we talked
Keep
about a little
pushing.
bit earlier, spending time with the
Yeah,
kids. We're here for the kids, and we have some great kids here in Bridgeton, and I'm really looking forward to, spending that time and seeing these programs, and how they're developing and shaping our kids.
that's awesome. Well, Warren DeShields, Food Service Director, Bridgeton Public Schools, just phenomenal work over the past 20-ish years.
Thank you.
Never worked a day since you started in school nutrition.
Yes, sir.
Amazing work, amazing things that you've done. Thank you for your service and all that you do to the kids, for the kids. Monique's Mean Greens. What else is on the menu there that if I come visit, I should be looking for?
Listen, man, we do a nice Peruvian chicken. It's marinated. It's got, a lot of herbs and spices to it. It's got a little heat to it in the back end.
Ooh.
Yeah, man. And listen, and there's two things when I see kids who have graduated, they always say, "Hey, I need a chicken patty." You know, we got a nice whole muscle chicken patty that we keep on the menus in the grab and go, and that's a child favorite,
Yeah.
a student favorite, excuse me. But the cheesesteaks,
Cheesesteaks are good.
we're right there by Philly, 35 minutes from Philly. We gotta make a mean cheesesteak. So you gotta have a cheesesteak.
Well, Warren, thank you for joining us today on the podcast at Pass the Tots. Keep up the good work. Keep going, my man. And we'll have your information. If anybody out there wants to reach out and chat it up with Warren, I'm sure he's happy to talk. Great things. Thank you today for joining us at Pass the Tots. And to everyone else, thank you. We'll look forward to chatting next time.